first lesson on trumpet. So, today's lesson I'm going to show you how to take your instrument out of the case, the different parts of your trumpet, how to put it together, how to hold it, and how to make your first sounds on it. So the first things first is you want to take your case. I've got my case right here. There's usually a couple different style cases. Some have these little levers that you lift up, or latches. Some have little push buttons that you push the button to the side and a latch pops up. But the key is the latch wants to go up. So you'll see I started down. Get it, there we go. And then I lift the latch up. Lift the latch up, and then you pull down the little casing piece, and your case top lifts up. The other thing you'll notice, I'm going to just redo one of these real quick so it doesn't fall apart, is you'll notice on this case, you've got the skinny part, and then there's the split, and then a thick part on the bottom. Your case will usually have a thicker part and a thinner part. The thinner part always goes on top. So you don't want to open it upside down because everything will fall out, and that's the last thing you want to have happen. So you want to lift those latches up, and then you lift the top of your case open. Now this has a fancy little cover in it. When I take it off, what you should see in the case is the instrument, mouthpiece, and possibly and hopefully some valve oil. So I'm going to set the case down on the floor. You always want to open this up on the floor or on your bed or somewhere that's very strong and stable so that you don't accidentally drop the instrument, because the last thing you want to do is damage your instrument. So first thing you're going to take out is your mouthpiece, and then you're also going to take out your trumpet. Now the nice thing about a brass instrument, especially trumpet, is there's two parts. As I said, your mouthpiece and the trumpet. And to put it together, all you do is you set your mouthpiece inside that little top piece, the mouthpiece receiver. Now when doing that, don't set it in there and twist it and push it in. You just want to take the mouthpiece and just drop it in. Don't give it any pops or anything like that, because what can happen is if you push too hard on it, your mouthpiece will get stuck. If your mouthpiece does get stuck, let your parents try it first. Sometimes just their bigger hands, they can get around it and get a good twist and turn on it and pull. And they're just sometimes a little bit stronger. But do not take any tools to it and try to grab a pair of pliers and twist it or do anything like that. Because if you happen to get your mouthpiece stuck, you can bring it on in. And I have this special little device that all it is meant to do is pull out a stuck mouthpiece. And it has never been able to not get a stuck mouthpiece out. It always works. So please, first, let your parents give it a try, see if they can get it out. If they can't get it out, bring it on in and I'll use my mouthpiece puller tool to get it out. We will get it out, but please, please do not take any tools to it. We don't want to damage the trumpet or the mouthpiece, and it's very, very easy to do when you start using those tools. So to hold your trumpet, what you're going to notice is there is 3 valves. First valve is closest to the mouthpiece or closest to you. The second valve is the one in the middle, and then the third valve is the one furthest away. Your left hand holds the instrument. So what you'll notice is on mine, I've got this little thumb holder, and on some of yours, you'll actually have a little ring right here. So you put your thumb, left hand, through that thumb, and now it's up to you on how the other parts of your hand go in. Some people like to take all their fingers and put them in through there. I have really big hands, so I do what I call the Vulcan grip. And I actually put half underneath and half on top. Or you can just put one finger through on top. You find what's comfortable for you. But the left hand holds the trumpet. Now your right hand is really easy. Your pinky sits on top of this little pinky ring. You'll see that little ring right there. Your pinky sits on top of it. Now what that's there for is if you have to turn a page or put a mute in the bell of your trumpet, you can hold the trumpet by putting your pinky in that pinky ring, so you can use your left hand to do anything you need to do, turn the sheet music or do any mute stuff changes and things like that. But you don't want to keep your finger in there all the time, because it can develop some really, really bad habits that we don't want you to have. So you can either rest it on top or just let the pinky hang loose. And then you've got your 3 fingers. You got your ring finger, your middle finger, and your pointer finger. Your pointer finger goes on the first valve, which is closest to you. Your middle finger goes on the second valve, and your third finger, your ring finger, goes on the third valve. And you just set them right on top. These are called your pearls. So you set your fingerprint. You don't want to use the tip of your finger. You want to set your fingerprint. So if you were giving a fingerprint, you would put that flat part of your finger on top. And then your thumb just kind of goes in the side here and just kind of rests against the trumpet. An easy way to think about it is pretend you're holding a baseball or a softball. And so I've got my hand around that ball, and it's nice and round, and all I do is bring the trumpet up to it, and my fingers are in the perfect position. And you'll see my left pinky just kind of hangs loose. So your left hand holds it. Find what's comfortable. Just make sure you're not gripping it and holding it like this, or holding it down like this, or holding it back here. Your hand goes around the valve casing, which is what holds the valves. And then your left hand goes pinky on top, and then 1, 2, 3. And then you can hold the trumpet. Now, before you put it up to start making a note, you don't want to make sure you're pointing the bell way up in the air or pointing the bell way down so it chokes off your air and all that stuff. You want to sit nice and relaxed, and what you'll notice is that the bell kind of points a little down, and that makes it really easy to hold and play. The last couple things you're going to see on your trumpet is you've got this big tuning slide right here. You want to make sure, you'll see I have mine out a little bit, so you want to make sure just by pulling it out that it just is out just a little bit. As you get better and develop more in band, we'll talk more about that and how to use it and how it works, but for now I just want you to pull it out a little bit. The last thing, depending on the brand of your trumpet, you might see different looking types, but these are called your water valves, or your spit valves. I don't like that name too much, but what it does is after a while of playing, you might start hearing a little gurgling sound inside your trumpet. So what you want to do is put your mouth around the mouthpiece, and you open one of those up, and you just blow. Now make sure you don't do it over your pants. If you're at home, I would do it over a special towel that you have for that, or over a trash can, or over your sink. I wouldn't just do it on your carpet. Or just make sure it's out over you if you're doing it somewhere else where you can just do it down on the ground. You want to make sure, because fluid will come out of that. Now, that's why I don't like the name spit valve, because it's not really your spit that's coming through that. It's mainly water, which is why I call it a water valve. Because if you think about it, what happens to a cold glass of water on a hot day? The outside of the glass perspires and gets water all over it. The same thing is happening, but the opposite way on the inside of this pipe. It's cold air on the outside, really warm air on the inside, so water forms, condensation forms on the inside, and over time, it collects in here. And as I said, it starts making a gurgling sound. So all you have to do is pull that. Some of yours might have a little push button. Nope, don't happen to have one sitting right here, but all you do is you push that little button in, and same idea, put your mouth around the mouthpiece, and you just blow. And that'll empty it right out for you. So that's some of the basics on your trumpet. Now the last piece, before we start making a sound on it, is how to maintain your valves. So you're going to have something with your instrument called valve oil. Looks just like this. This is the brand we use here called Blue Juice. There's lots of different types. Some are clear, some are kind of this bluish green color. They all work just the same. And what they do is they're meant to keep your valves working. So you'll see right now when I push it, it pops right up. Sometimes I might push it down. When I take my finger off, it'll stay down. Or what'll happen is when I take my finger off, it'll come up really slowly. So when that happens, you have two ways you can oil your instrument. The first is the quick way. So if you're in the middle of a band rehearsal or just need to do it really, really fast, this is the easiest way to do it quickly. You take your instrument and you turn it upside down, and you'll see in your instrument are these three little holes at the bottom. What you can do is you open up your valve oil. It does not take much. Just a light squeeze will get quite a bit out. You squeeze it really hard, it'll go shooting across the room. So you want to make sure you're really careful about that, because this is oil. It gets kind of messy, and when it gets on your hands, it's kind of a pain to get it off. So what you do is I'll tip it upside down and get the nozzle right over the hole, and I just give it a couple light squeezes. in each one, or you can just do it in the one that's sticking for you. While it's upside down, I'll kind of wiggle my valves a little bit. And then what I'll do is take a paper towel before I flip it back, because you don't want any of it to spill out over you. And I'll just kind of wipe it down, and I'll even flip it over with that paper towel on it and just kind of move my valves a little bit. And you'll see that I actually did get a little bit of valve oil that came back out. Those will get your valves working nice and good. And now they're moving really nicely. Again, that's the quick way. I wouldn't do it that way too often. Again, only if you have to do it really quickly. The easiest way and the best way to oil your valves is you'll see on the top of your valves here, each of these is a screw. So what I'm going to do is unscrew from the bottom of that valve cap. And you'll see now I can lift my valve right out. And what you're going to notice is on your valve, there's a silver part and then kind of a goldish part. You want to oil the silver part. The gold part doesn't touch the instrument, so you don't need to worry about that. So what I'm going to do before I show you that, you want to do one valve at a time. And on a lot of trumpets, what you're going to see, I don't know if the camera's going to focus in on it. I don't think it is. But on part of that gold part or somewhere on the valve, you might see a 1, a 2, or a 3. That will help you know which valve goes where. So if you take all your valves out, you'll know exactly where they go in. Because if you flip them around and you put your first valve where the second valve goes, it's going to feel like you're blowing against a brick wall. So if you ever get that feeling when you blow through your trumpet after you oiled your valves, and it just feels like no air is going through the instrument at all, and it's just like you're blowing right against a brick wall, your valves probably aren't in correctly. Doesn't mean they're not in the right way. They could be in the right spot, just not put in all the way, and I'll show that in just a second. So what you do again is you take your oil very lightly. You just kind of spin that silverish part and just put a light coating of oil on it. Again, I did not squeeze very hard. It does not take much to get that oil all over it. And then you put the valve in. Now, when you put it in, you want to spin it until it locks. You will feel it click in. You might even hear a little sound. Let me put it up to the mic here a little closer to see if you hear that click. Hear that click? I'm going to do it one more time. You can kind of feel it, and when that click happens, the valve can't spin anymore. And then when you do that, just screw that valve in, and you're good to go. Now, if you put it in wrong, you'll see when I try to blow through it, I can't do anything. My face turns all sorts of colors red, and I just can't get any air through it. The minute I get that to lock in, I'll re-screw down that valve, tighten it up. Don't sit there and wrench it down really tight. Just get it so that it screws on tight. And now I'm good to play. All right, now we get to go to the fun part. How to make a sound on the trumpet. The first thing we're going to start with is what's called mouthpiece buzzing. This is the first most important part. If you think of a megaphone, when you have a megaphone, which amplifies your voice and makes your voice a lot louder, you hold the megaphone up and you speak through it. If you don't talk, nothing comes through the megaphone and it doesn't work. The trumpet works very much the same way. Without the mouthpiece, think of the mouthpiece as your voice. Without this doesn't do much at all. So you need to learn to get good at making a sound through this. So what you want to do is you make your lips like you're saying the letter M. And you'll see how my jaw kind of comes down a little bit. Just say the letter M. M. And then you put the mouthpiece right up to your lips. M. If you have trouble getting that buzz, see if you can buzz your lips without it. Not everybody can do that, so don't worry. What you want to work on is trying to get a buzz out of this. So letter M. I'm going to get kind of close to the camera so you can really see. Letter M. And that'll get a nice buzz. So you want to get really, really good at that, or whatever room you're practicing in, you can fill that room with your buzz. Take a big breath. Make sure when you breathe in, you don't raise up your shoulders and get really tight. You want to stay nice and relaxed. So letter M, big breath. So once you get good at making that sound, just one sound out of the mouthpiece, then the next thing you want to do is you want to try to make a siren noise. And get really good at making that siren sound through the mouthpiece. Once you've become really good at that, then you can put it in your instrument. So we're going to put the mouthpiece in. Remember, left hand holds the trumpet, pinky on top, first, second, third finger, and I'm going to do the same thing, letter M, and then I'm going to take a big breath and blow. M. Not sure what noise pitch you're going to get out when you make your first sound. It might be a high, might be a low, might be in the middle. There's nothing wrong with which one you're getting out. But all I want you to start with is just really work and spend time on getting a good buzz, and then work on the sirens. Then eventually what we're going to start working on is playing a song on your mouthpiece. Now to put your trumpet away, take your mouthpiece out, set your trumpet back in the case, put your valve oil back in the case, put your mouthpiece in the case, and then you're going to close your case up, you're going to latch it up, and that is your first lesson on trumpet.